Alright, now class, let's start today's lesson. Today we are going to do addition and subtraction of algebraic fraction. Now you are very familiar with doing subtraction and addition of fractions. However, the question is, can you do it without a calculator? Okay, so what is always the very first step that you have to do when you're doing? Make the same denominator. Now, what is the term we use for the denominator? We are going to make the denominator the same. So, there's a term that we are going to use. What value should you use for the denominator? Yes, I hear 20 something. 20 what? 24. How do you get 24? 6 times 4. Now, 24 is correct, but it is not suitable for algebraic fractions. Okay? So, when you have 24, it is not the term that we are looking for. It is actually 12. Yes, some of you already say 12. So, why is 12 the one that we want to use? What is 12 called? It is start with... Yes, very good. Well done. It is the lowest common multiple. Okay? It's the common multiple, not the common factor, but the lowest common multiple. You must use the lowest. When you don't use the lowest and you use 24, you have a problem towards the end. You will see that in question 6 later. So we must use the lowest common multiple. For today's lesson, I want you to learn one new thing. Whenever you're doing algebraic fractions, you must put brackets on all the numerator and denominator. It's a must. Yeah, so one thing to learn today only, put a bracket for all the numerators and denominators. So how do I get 12 here? I need to multiply the denominator by 2. So here I will have 2. And on the next term, I will multiply by 3 and 3. So in the working, I should have 10 minus 3, and that will give me 7 over 12. Now I see some of you frowning when I say you must put bracket on top and below. Okay, the reason is this. I have already established that I must use the common denominator as 12. Now when I multiply by 2, right? How do I indicate that I multiply by 2 on the numerator? How do I do that? Can I simply write like this? So I already hear you saying I must put a bracket. Otherwise, there is a common error that you will make, that you only multiply 2 with the A. And that is not correct. We have done it in your homework and in the previous lesson. The 2 must multiply into the A and into the plus 2B. So, what is today's lesson? One thing that you have to remember? Can you echo? What is the one thing you must remember for today's lesson? We must bracket both the numerator and denominator. Okay, and then we will multiply the correct multiple. And we will have a common denominator here. I usually will not split it into 12 and 12. Instead, I'll put it as one common denominator. It is less stressful, okay? You put a 12 here and a 12 here. Later, you have to do one more steps, and I feel that it's a bit stressful for us. So, common denominator straight away. Now, please look at the working. I will multiply in the 2 to the A, and I'll get 2A. 2 with the 2B, and I will get plus 4B. How do I multiply the next term? Everyone look up. What will I get? Negative 3A. And the last one is always the one that we make mistake. And it is the most tricky one. How do we get the last term? Yeah, well done. Remember, minus. This is always the mistake. 90% of the time, this is where the mistake will be. So, when I start marking your work, I will always check for this. It is a common error. Now, for the last step, what are we supposed to do? We must simplify by putting the like terms together. Okay, we will group the like terms together. If you are not sure, you can press calculator. 2 minus away 3, I got negative 1a. 4 minus away 6, negative 2b. Now for the next question, do you know what is the lowest common multiple for the denominator? I heard x plus 2 to the power of, okay, is it 1, 2 or 3? What's the power? The LCM. So LCM, looking at the word LCM, we are looking at the multiple. So we are looking at the highest power. So both of them, the highest power is power 2. Now please do not ever use the first denominator multiplied by the second denominator. It's not that straightforward all the time. Sometimes it works. Example, when you have a prime number, then you can use the denominator as 5 times 7 when it's a prime number. In other cases, most often you cannot do that. So why I chose these 3 examples is because their denominator is a bit more tricky. So that's why I chose these 3 examples here. So I will multiply here by x plus 2 because that's the term that is missing. So the common denominator will be x plus 2 squared. Okay, the first term is simply 8. I do not need to do anything to it. The second term, I will have 3 bracket x plus 2. So now we need to expand the second term here in order to simplify it. And I will have 8 minus 3x. Got the common mistake here, so be careful. And I will have minus 6. So finally, simplifying 8 minus 6, I'll have 2 minus 3x over x plus 2 squared. Okay, thank you so much. Right, for the clarification. Okay, this is a last example here. There's something special that you need to do. What must we do here before we have the common denominator? You must always factorize the quadratic expressions first. You must always factorize the quadratic expression first. So usually we'll make a mistake here and we will always forget to factorize first. What is the purpose of factorizing? If I factorize the quadratic, I will have x plus 7, x minus 7. What is the common denominator? Yeah. So the common denominator is actually x plus 7, x minus 7. If you did not do the factorization, your common denominator will actually be x squared minus 49 multiplied by x minus 7. The answer will be very, very complex. You will have a cubic term. Okay, class, let us conclude. So, I am short of x plus 7. Alright, because this is originally x minus 7. So, I'm short of x plus 7, x plus 7. So, when I expand it, I will have 6x. And I will have 42. Alright. And finally, if I group the constant together, I will have 43 plus 6x over this.